are once again live. Purge the BS. Hold on, let me adjust this camera. I need y'all in my face. For real. For anybody that's just stepping in, thank you very much for stopping into the channel. I know a lot of the folks are not getting the notifications right now. Something crazy going on with the internet and the algorithms. But we're going to fight through that regardless, because this is Purge of the BS. I am your host, Haze. And today we got a few things we got to go over. We got to purge a few things, because we're going to talk about this wonderful community of Negroideism and how we have decided to utilize what I call the flip of black privilege. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about social media and how it is dictating a litigation along with public opinion. And how can we grow through it and go through it. So, with no further ado, all right, as we do here on Purge of the BS, I got to first give my shouts to my mods showing up early. Al Bond in the chat. Hey, bro, I got to send you an email. I needed to get to one of them stories. I couldn't get to it. So we're going to talk about that afterwards. But thank you for stopping into the chat. This gong's for you. So for anybody else that's new, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you put a like, thumbs up in the chat so I know you're here and I know you can hear me. But as we do here on the Purge of the BS, before we fully get started, I must play the disclaimer. Please stand by.
This is not a test. This is your emergency broadcast system announcing commencement of another Purge of the BS, sanctioned by the First Amendment. Frustration level 0 to 100 have been authorized for use during this purge. All weapons are restricted. Government officials have not been granted immunity from the Purge of the BS and shall undoubtedly receive the smoke. Commencing at the sound of the gong, any and all BS, especially unnecessary goofiness, will be purged without consequence. Police, fire, and emergency medical services will be available, but they will be busy because they will be watching the Purge of the BS. Blessed be those who have already been victims of some BS. May God be with you all.
Charged up now. I'm charged up now. Well, guys, this is going to be a wonderful, wonderful day of Purge today. I am so glad to see those that are here. Let me make sure I got my chat available. Thank you all for stopping in. Once again, as I had stated before, I know that the algorithm is acting crazy. For anybody that's in here now, I know the algorithm's been acting crazy. Folks have not been getting notifications, but it's good to know that it's not just this channel. Apparently, this is a known issue going on right now. So the only way to combat it is to make sure that if you know a show is coming on a certain time, like how Al Bond in the chat knows that the show comes on at 11 Tuesdays and Thursdays, you just got to be here, okay? It's as simple as that. It's not going. It might not notify you of anything. So if you know it's there, you just come on over to the channel, come hang out. I'll be here, okay? Now, with that being said, because I don't let no algorithm slow up what I'm here to do, and I can cut all this stuff into shorts later anyway, we're going to get into a few different stories today, but we're going to start out with basically, it seems like what is a community problem, and I think you guys should hear it. It's actually pretty interesting. I mean, I'm not going to say it. It's a heavy load to handle. Let me just say that. And so we're going to get into it here. Hold on just a moment. Let's bring this on over for the folks. Oh, I'm on the wrong monitor. That's what it is. There we go. All right. And make sure you hit the like button, okay? Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure that you share the stream. We got to do everything to combat this algorithm right now, okay? YouTube is trying to make money off of the creators. So if they think that they can make money off of you, they will try their best to do so. If they can't make a bunch of money off of you, they will suppress a lot of the content, at least starting out. You got to get on for like 45 minutes before anybody gets a notification. But it's all good. It's all good. So apparently, I got this weird headline that said something about a issue in Walmart, like a shooting, right? And I never got to that story because the first story was definitely more interesting to me. Did you know that there's a problem with horses in Philly? I didn't know. So let's see what Deirdre Dukes has to say here.
To ban recreational horses from the city. That's after the death of a horse in Midtown Sunday. Georgia Animal Rights and Protection Group says both carriage horses and private citizens riding the horses in town should be stopped. Fox 5's Alexa Liaco is live downtown with more on this effort. Alexa.
Well, Deidre, the horse that died collapsed right here in front of an ATM and a bank on a busy downtown street right here at Peachtree and NLK. And animal rights activists say now is the time for city council to act so something like this doesn't happen again.
Horses just don't belong on the streets of Atlanta, period.
Julie Robertson of the Georgia Animal Rights and Protection Group has spent hours documenting what she sees as a growing trend, horses running through traffic in downtown Atlanta.
And now watch, they're going to just weave straight through traffic, just taking over the streets.
So when she heard a horse collapsed and died in downtown over the weekend,
it's sad, but I wasn't surprised.
Not surprised because she's seen other situations like this. She says horses are being put at risk for injury or death, and these moments are why her organization is renewing its call to the Atlanta City Council to ban horses, both carriage horses and those owned by private citizens, from Atlanta streets. She says they're a danger to themselves and the public.
When a horse spooks, a horse will just go in any direction. The horse could easily jump in front of a car.
GARP has worked with the City Council on a recreational horse ban in the past year.
All right, let me just say this. I'm actually going to have to give some props that brothers is riding horses. Like they're taking care of horses. You know, they're definitely saving on gas. I know that much. I don't know how much it costs to fill up a horse and how many miles you get per, hay barrel or whatever. But I would imagine that they're saving a few dollars on gas. They're probably making up for it by having to deal with the upkeep of having a horse at the house. I'm going to venture to say that they probably don't live in an apartment complex if they have horses, unless they're parking them out front, throwing the little the rope over the thing at the fence. I don't know. But I didn't know that this was what they would call a problem. I didn't know it was a thing. I'm used to dirt bikes in the street being annoying. I'm used to people on them little electric scooters that can do like 25, 30 miles per hour, but they want to be in 45 mile per hour track. I'm used to that. Not so used to a horse. And if you get caught behind a horse and it like poops while you're moving, right? And it ends up on your car. Do you have litigation that you could bring for somebody vandalizing or damaging your vehicle if you get caught with some horse crap on the front of your car? I don't know. But like I said, I didn't know it was a problem. So that's why I said, let me bring it to the folks. Did anyone else know that Atlanta has an issue with people riding horses around? I don't know. I don't know. I just think it's interesting to hear. So, like I said, this was supposed to be about a Walmart shooting. I never made it to the Walmart shooting. I was like, damn, they got horses rolling around in Atlanta like that. To the point that they're doing a news story.
Fruition. But Robertson hopes this latest loss will inspire action for everyone's safety.
Let's do something before a citizen of Atlanta gets hurt or killed.
And at this point, we are still waiting to confirm if the owner of the horse who collapsed and died here will face any charges.
Why would they face charges?
Atlanta, Alexa Liaco, Fox 5 News.
All right, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to stop it there because now they're going to start talking about somebody getting murdered. So I'm going to bring it back. I didn't want to hear about that yet. Donald J. Plump, I see you in the chat. What's up, man? Good to see you. Good to see you. So nonetheless, like I said, this was brought to me as a whole different story, but I just wanted to present it to y'all. So if you go to Atlanta, apparently they got a problem with folks riding horses around through the city and ducking through traffic. And I would do the same. If I had a horse, I would ride that horse all the time because nobody else has a horse. Forget having an exotic car or something that nobody else is really buying in the area. No, I got a horse. So I'm going wherever the horse can go. Like, we can go off-road, we can stay on-road. I don't know if you got to put lights or do hand signals when you're on a horse. I don't know. But if I had one, you best believe that's going to be my primary form of transportation. I'm just saying. Now, the fact that the horse died at the ATM, I don't know why that was interesting or important to them as a news story. But it sounds like they're saying, like, what, a horse can't pass away from whatever he passed away from. The horse might have been sick. We don't know. A runaway carriage, as you see in this screenshot here, that's the reason to ban horses. Well, the horse probably was in a fire lane and was told to not park there and decided to move the carriage to a legal parking space. I don't know. But unless you tell me that people are like slaughtering them in the middle of the street or hitting them with cars or whatever the situation is, I think it's like, it's kind of cool. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, he said, yo, Al Bond in the chat with the zinger. The horse saw that ATM balance, that joint. He was like, oh, no, I'm done. Wow. So, like I said, man, interesting story. If you're going to Atlanta anytime soon, keep an eye out for the horse shit, okay? All right. Next story. All right, hold on a second here. Oh, that's a Facebook. I'm not doing that. Did that. Okay. What is this? 9 to 5 Blues. So our next story is called 9 to 5 Blues, which sounds like everybody in America that's not a millionaire. And even some of the millionaires, a lot of those guys do work. Don't get it twisted. Some people come into money, but a lot of people actually have to earn it. And so they end up having to work 60-something hour weeks trying to earn that kind of money. But when it's time to take a vacation, they can take really nice vacations. So it's sort of worth it. But basically, it looks like a young girl is crashing out over having to work. That's what it looks like. We're going to go over it real quick. Like I said, we're going to get to it. Let's see what we got here. All right. I want to make sure. Question of the day. In a 9 to 5, how do you have time for your life? You know what? That is a really good question. Let's see what she's saying. She looks emotional already. She looks very emotional already, so I kind of see where this is going to go. But let's see what she's talking about, you know.
I know I'm probably just being so dramatic and annoying.
A little bit.
But this is my first job, like my first 9 to 5 job after college. And I'm in person. And I'm commuting in the city, and it takes me fucking forever to get there. There's no way I'm going to be able to afford living in the city right now. So that's off the table. Like, fucking duh! If I was able to walk to work, and it'd be fine. But I'm not. So it literally takes me, like, I leave here, like, I get on the train at 7:30, and I don't get home till, like, 6:15 earliest. And then, like, I don't have time to do anything. I want to shower, eat my dinner, and go to sleep. I don't have time or energy to cook my dinner either. Like, I don't have energy to work out. Like, that's out the window. Like, I'm so upset. Oh my God. Nothing to do with my job at all, but just like the 9 to 5 schedule in general is crazy. Being in the office 9 to 5, like if it was remote, you get off at 5 and you're home and everything's fine.
Also
but like
true.
I'm not home. It takes me long to get home, and like people that drive to the office, like you don't get off at 5. And I know it could be worse. I know I could be working longer, but like I literally get off, it's pitch black. Like I don't have energy. How do you have friends? Like how do you have time to like meet like a guy? I don't know. Like how do you have time for like dating? Like I don't have time for anything, and I'm like so stressed out. And I'm also getting my period, so that's why I'm all emotional. But like, am I so dramatic? It's fine.
All right, so there was some comedy to it, from what I could see, because she was saying she was on her cycle, so she was a little emotional. But I'm just going to say this. This young lady has been exposed to the world as it is. That world, she said, is her first job out of college, and she's working a 9 to 5, which is a standard schedule, morning shift, rush hour each direction, which is... doesn't matter if you catch public transportation or if you drive yourself. If you work that shift, you are going to catch the rush of whatever transportation of everybody going to the same, or at least doing the same thing. They're all on their way somewhere. Young lady, ma'am, I hate to tell you this, but if that's your first gig out of college, you got at least a good 35, 40 years or so of that. Unless you come up with some marvelous idea and run your own thing. And even if the woman is just trolling, because a lot of this stuff on the internet now, and that's why we're having the conversation today about social media's ability to like mold and manipulate minds, is because it is a real conversation. So yes, she's being overly dramatic. Yes, it's just adulting. Welcome to the real world, all that. But let's have the real conversation. In a 9 to 5, which nowadays it ain't 9 to 5 no more, it's 9 to 5:30. If you have a lunch, which they legally have to give you, you get 30 minutes for that, or an hour, depending on what what they say you're going to do, or 45 minutes, whatever. The shift is extended by the amount of time you have lunch. Okay? So when you go to work, and a lot of jobs are like this now, they say you can have a 30-minute lunch or you can have an hour lunch. It's up to you, but if you get an hour lunch, you don't leave till 6. You get a half-hour lunch, you leave at 5:30. Okay? That is literally how it works now. There was a time where 9 to 5 really meant that. 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and there was a lunch break paid in the middle of it. Somewhere along the lines, people were like, you know what? We're not paying them for lunch. We're just going to let them go have a break for 30 minutes. That's what that is. It's an unpaid break. It's no longer called a lunch time or lunch hour or whatever, right? It's not even a lunch break. It's just a break that they don't pay you for. So it's not even a break. It's just getting off of work, coming back a little bit later. And so, like I said, she might be an actress, but this is worth the conversation because people do work 8+ hours. Some people work 10-hour shifts, and there really isn't much time for anything but work, at least during the week if you're putting in your 40 hours and you have a commute. Now, if you work from home, like you said, you get off at 5, great. But even in that, you start to become a prisoner in your own home. I've worked from home for years, so I know how it is. It's like after a while, not saying that you want to go to an office, but it's almost like you feel like you're locked into your own home because that's your office. So you got to report there, stay there. You can't just go out whenever you feel like it. So a lot of jobs, I've seen certain jobs that have some gray area to it. There's also the salary, folks. So let me be transparent here. What I'm talking about with the scheduling is for people who are hourly paid, okay? Folks that have a salary, there's a little bit more wiggle room in that. They can take the hour lunch because they're going to get paid the same regardless. So with the hourly paid folks, if you don't take the lunch, or if you don't take your lunch, it'll count as overtime, and it'll probably be unapproved overtime. So they got to make sure you take the lunch. It's like legally they got to make sure you clock out for that time, unless they're going to give you overtime because you're hourly pay. But if you are salary pay, it's a little bit different. So we're talking about hourly workers here, okay? So for the hourly workers that commute, let's say an hour or so, let's just be fair, say an hour in each direction. It takes an hour to get to work through rush hour traffic, takes an hour to get back. So that means you got to be out of your house by 8, okay, in the morning. That means you got to be up by, let's say 6. You got to be up by 7 if you're one of those people that can get ready pretty quick, get some breakfast or whatever. You got an hour there, right? But let's say you're one of the people that likes to work out in the morning, right? That means you got to get up closer to 5:30. All right, so you got to get up at 5:30, go do your workout, take your shower, blase, blah, then be on the road for an hour, heading out to work. You get to work at 9, you go all 3 days. So 5:30, we're going to go all the way to, let's say that she's got a half-hour lunch, 5:30 p.m. She's got another hour to get back home. So that's going to be 6:30, and that's if we're talking about she's walking out on time, no lateness. So 6:30 p.m., she comes in the house. She's been gone since 5:30 in the morning. 6:30 p.m., you come in the house and you want to eat, you want to take a shower, you want to do whatever, right? Let's just say that you have to get some sleep. Sleep is normally, they say you want to sleep 8 hours, right? No, most people will sleep, let's say 6. So let's be fair and say 6 hours. So that takes you back to, let's say you got to be in bed by 10:30, 11 o'clock. So if you're coming home at 6:30, you get your clothes off, you use the bathroom real quick. That's about 30 minutes there, just getting settled in. It's 7 o'clock to 10 o'clock that you have for the remainder of your life. 3 hours a day. Sounds crazy, don't it? But hey, I just did the math with you. And so, like I said, she makes a point that you don't have time for shit else. Believe me, I barely have time to do this internet thing without having to run out the door to go do something else because there is not enough time. But when you work that shift and you work that for 40 years like that, yes, you only get about 3 hours a day, tops, to do anything other than working and preparing for work and commuting from work. That actually is pretty sad. So I'm not going to be mad at her for being emotional about that because she's just now realizing it. She's fresh out of college. See, I know that now because I've been doing it since high school, college, so on and so forth. So I got 25 plus years of experience in knowing that it's a shitty schedule and that it's only gotten worse because when I started working, that 30-minute break was part of the 9 to 5. They didn't make you stay till 5:30. Then all of a sudden, I don't remember what happened, but then one day that was just the way it had to be, and it's been like that ever since. And they didn't ask me whether I liked that plan. So, folks, here's the dismal truth. This young lady is right. You don't have time for life when you just work your ass off at a job every day. You don't. How people do it, not sure. You got to find these little gaps in time. No, you can't be single and mingling every night. You can't be at the club every night. Not if you're serious about your job. You can't do all that. You're going to have to stop and just be an adult. And it's unfortunate because you want to live life when you're here. Like, you want to live it. You don't want to just exist, work every day, you know, and maybe take a vacation one time a year for a weekend on Memorial Day or something like that. Like, basically your whole life is just working and paying bills. Nobody wants to live their entire life like that. But the way the system is set up, that's exactly what you're going to do. While you're working, what do? You pay taxes. The taxes go to the government. The government uses your taxes to then get loans for things that they purchase all around the world, and that's how they do the deals. You are the stock. Like they say, it's modern day slavery. At one point, the original stock in America was slaves. The original shares were slaves. So when you had a certain amount of shares, those were the slaves in your business. So America has stock. That's why you have foreign countries investing in U.S. stocks and bonds. Like, not the U.S. companies, the actual country. That's why they were talking about if China starts offloading bonds, it'll crash our economy. Because our economy is one big-ass credit scam. It's one big-ass payday loan. The entire economy. That's why we in debt. Because they didn't pay back the loans on time. And you know how payday loans, they go up 700%. So welcome to America, young lady. And welcome to the rest of your life. I'm sorry, but unfortunately, this is the way it is. Consider yourself lucky that you got the realization early and you can try to navigate it, maybe try to find something better to do with your life, because here it is. You're going to use that time to work for somebody. You can work for yourself, or you can find a really high-paying job that doesn't. Because imagine if you're a 9-to-5er and you got to have a second job because you don't have enough money. You only had 3 hours for your life before. It's actually pretty damn sad. And I don't like the fact that the Chinese people keep making fun of how we struggling over here. I've seen that on TikTok. I don't like it. I don't like it. So nonetheless, next story. All right, what we got here? What we got here? Okay, that was that. That's that. That's that. That's that. Oh, okay. Now we're getting into our politics here. All right, so we're getting into the thick of the show here. Pause. We're getting into the shaft of the show. And recently, I don't know how many of you folks are Marjorie Taylor Greene fans. I'm not a big fan of Marjorie Taylor Greene, but she's funny to me, but it's like funny in a way that could be dangerous. Like some of the stuff she does and says to me is it's like that kind of laugh. Like, okay, all right, like a nervous laugh, right? So recently, she does a town hall meeting, and I've already explained to y'all that I'm getting a little sick and tired of the craziness at the meetings. Like, you know, we have litigation and legislation for all this. These protests are fun, but they haven't stopped anything. We keep protesting. None of these protests have deterred the current administration from what they were doing. So to me, seems very wasteful. But that's just me. The rest of y'all can do what you want. You want to go getting locked up at Marjorie Taylor Greene's town halls and all that kind of stuff, wasting your time there. You know you only got 3 hours of your life per day. You want to waste it on that? That's fine. Do as you will. But nonetheless, I'm going to play a little clip for you guys over here, because apparently Marjorie Taylor Greene went to go do her little thing somewhere in, I don't know where Ackworth is, and it doesn't matter. She went to a town that I would never visit. Let's just say that. And some folks showed up, and they didn't like her, and so they acted out. So let's see what happens there, because this is apparently a little story for the folks. So here we go. Y'all ready? All right. Is it in theater mode? Is it in theater mode? Here we go. It's in theater mode. All right. So this is MTG, Marjorie Greene Taylor Greene. And so she starts a little thing.
Enjoyed all of it. I feel blessed to have y'all in the district. Good. God bless. Thank you. Can I take this off?
So somebody starts yelling as soon as she got up there.
Well, welcome everyone.
Joe. Well, she just got on the stage. She didn't even say nothing yet.
Thank you. Thank you.
Somebody said, shut up.
Put your head behind you.
Oh!
Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back. Do it now.
That's two. That's 2 of them.
Get me out of here. How do we get out of here? Get me out of here. Right out. I can't be around this. That's why get me out of here. Get me out of here.
That's 3.
Get me out of here. He just got shot. Are you? Can I call someone for you?
This is a lot. This is a lot. I'm not even. I thought we were going to at least get to hear her say something mean before all that happened. But okay. Let's see here. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. That's weird. All right, we're going to let that complete, or at least go for a couple more minutes. So far it's been 3 people.
Well, they made it here. You need to get hurt. Stop.
Oh, that's the same. That's the first guy. What happened to the other guy? I thought that was a different guy. Never mind. The same guy.
Thank you to our great police officers. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen,
that is
welcome
what Congress
to
did,
my
though.
town hall.
Or at least some people
this is a town hall. This is not a political rally. This is not a protest. If you stand up and want to protest, if you want to shout and chant, we will have you removed just like that man was thrown out. We will not tolerate it.
I mean, it's technically disturbing the peace.
This is funded. The Democrats have been rioting. They are the party of violence. They are the party that...
Get out.
Go. 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 If you want to sit and listen, you're welcome to listen. Everyone across the aisle, Democrats, Independents, Republicans, this is a good place. You have a lot to learn.
Oh, you got a black one, too. Damn! Well, they popping them tasers like models at the club. I see they only clap when the black guy got taken out. It's racial. It's a conspiracy. First of all, why was this black ass in there in the first place? He just came there to cause a ruckus? Because nobody in there looks like him? He didn't come with a crew? How'd this start? What's happening? I need answers. I want clarity.
This is a peaceful town hall. Now, this is a peaceful town hall, ladies and gentlemen.
It's not peaceful. Not so far. That's 3. We got 3.
I want to talk about what else I think is absolutely pathetic. Is the media trying to defend an illegal alien that is a member of MS-13 that was deported to his home country, El Salvador.
I was going to mention that, so that's interesting, but I'll leave that story for the rest.
American media that they aren't defending Americans. That's the only people they should be defending. Before I wrap up, I want to talk about what happened in the past 4 years under the Biden administration.
All right, we got four. That was four people.
The government was weaponized against the American people. And after January 6th,
here we go.
Many people were arrested. Now, I want you to know, serving in Congress, I have not watched the pro-Hamas, pro-Palestinian, pro-Gaza protesters. I have not watched them be prosecuted like the DOJ went after January 6th protesters. So I want to thank President Trump. I want to thank President Trump for what he did for January 6th defendants. Kayla, you can go ahead and pull that up.
Oh, I thought somebody else was getting kicked out.
Oh,
they're leaving. Oh, here we go.
And the pro-lifers, too. Biden's DOJ went after people that peacefully protested abortions. FBI, ATF, Border Patrol, ICE, and many local law enforcement, all the way from city, county, and states, all across the country are working together to track down illegal alien criminals, cartels, and terrorists that are not just living at the border. Ladies and gentlemen, they're all inside the interior of the United States.
How about the KKK?
All inside the interior of the United States.
She said, how about the KKK?
You can head out. The protest is outside. Thank you very much. Protest is outside. Protest is outside. Bye. Have fun out there. City of Ackworth is doing a great job. They have an area for
Come on, man. Come on, man.
Yeah, gotta go. That's it. Chit-chat.
What can Congress do to rein in the hate and lies of elected officials for continuing to endanger the lives of innocent people? Brett Crockett is one example. Those inciting the vandalism and domestic terrorism against Tesla.
So how many is that? It's 5 so far, right? We got 5 kickouts so far?
Kathleen, thank you for that question.
In a what?
And I first want to start with recognizing Governor Shapiro.
5-minute video?
And say that I truly pray for them, and it was shocking to see that attack of arson on the governor's mansion. And I completely denounce that type of political violence. I denounce all political violence. Now, I can tell you that because I also live in a place where I am one of the...
What does it say? Tail for inside traders? Let me move this back a little bit. Uh-oh. I done messed it up. Hold up. What'd I do?
It's been a great day. Against Tesla, and Tesla owners are another example. Kathleen, thank you for that question. And I first want to start with recognizing Governor Shapiro and his family. All right, I got that.
Tail, does it say tail for inside traders? What does that mean? All right, well, look, you know what? We got 5 kickouts. This might be number 6. Now, here's my question. When you do this action, right? You show up at a thing, and you stand up and you put your little sign up. What is that to do, other than to have your sign be shown? Like, you can't have a conversation. You're not changing nothing with this sign that you used up 4 Sharpies, and you don't even have like the right tints in capitalism. There was alcohol behind the drawing, or at least the time of the drawing. And you go to this thing just so you can hold up your little sign and then do what? Or maybe there's something on the other side of it, and this is like the end of the sentence. I don't know. It doesn't even make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me to put this. We only got 3 hours of our lives per day. I guarantee it would take 2 or 3 hours to do this sign on 2 sides with a Sharpie. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. I don't care who's doing it. I know how they feel if it was whomever. This is dumb. MTG be doing dumb stuff in Congress, yelling and screaming. She's doing the same thing these people doing, but she does it down there in D.C., and then she goes viral for that. And then we got Jasmine Crockett will do it. We got AOC will do it. Like, whoever, they just be yelling out. Al Green, the other time he did some stuff. We got, Who's the one dude that's always yelling? I can't even think of his name. There's this one guy that's always like going off over there. But the point is, this jumping up and yelling some stuff thing has been going on for quite some time, and I think it's a total waste of time and resources. There's no conversation being had at all. You're just drawing and wasting Sharpie and time, because people wanted Marjorie Taylor Greene to be done talking. Some people don't like to hear her talk. They just went to hear what she had to say. So when y'all keep doing this, you extending it. You're making it worse for yourselves and the rest of us, okay? So if we can't come together on a consensus here about what we're going to be doing with these so-called protests, like other than just slowing up traffic and creating a situation where a bunch of dumb people go to jail for a night, it doesn't seem to be doing anything. It's not deterring anything. So it's a pointless protest, folks. Stop with the shit, please. This is so worthless, and they about to do it again this weekend. Meanwhile, China and Trump and El Salvador and Trump and whoever in Trump, they talking. They not worried about y'all in the street with your little signs like you doing something. Get your ass to work and pay them taxes is how they feel. Whatever. Like, there you go. Cory Booker was another one. Thank you, Adrian Kennedy, in the chat for coming in with that one. That was the one he's not yelling. He's always looking like he about to cry. But he was there for 25 hours talking about nothing. And I gave him props for the effort, but what was the point? You keep saying you want to change something, you're not even having a conversation with nobody that can change it. What's wrong with y'all? But anyway, Adrian Kennedy, thank you for that, because I was reaching for that one earlier, so this gong's for you. All right. So, check this out. I'm going to let this finish up, but it's so frustrating to me, because I just wish I could get all these people with all this energy together and come up with a real consensus on how you're actually trying to move forward. Make this shit have a point. Stop doing this. Because what it does for some is it makes them more interested in Marjorie Taylor Greene. So if you don't like her, you don't want to bring that attention over there if you don't have a real purpose. It's stupid, man. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Now, I can tell you that because I also live in a place where I am one of the members of Congress that usually has the highest amount of death threats. As a matter of fact,
wow. Free Garcia, yo.
A fascist gathering, and that doesn't exist in the Republican Party. As a matter of fact, President Trump is the most transparent president in history. The man literally talks to the press every single day. It's amazing. Not only that, he takes them on Air Force One and takes them.
She looks like she used to suck her thumb a lot when she was a kid. She was one of them kids. And like I said, I'm not a big fan because she's always yelling out some crazy stuff. And I remember she was yelling at Biden a while ago. Liar! And all that kind of stuff. So she ain't without reproach. So these people just giving her a taste of her own medicine at her town hall. So I think to that degree it's deserved. But because I don't like time waste, you know, we're talking about waste, fraud, and abuse. I hate when people are wasteful and abuse time. You see what I'm saying? So this is a waste of her time. It's a waste of their time. I don't even know what this town hall was for. I don't know what any of this is for. And I don't know why they got the microphone tied down to the stand. This is a wireless mic, but it's tied down so she can't take. What kind of stuff is going on over in whatever city this is where you got to tie the wireless mics down? What kind of church is this y'all are in, or whatever it is?
So the UFC fights, he talks to them and gaggles on the plane. He talks to them all the time.
Yes, he does talk a lot.
This is such an amazing thing to happen. You know, well, the Associated Press shouldn't have told as many lies as they did about President Trump.
Now she's talking about the AP. I thought somebody else was going to get kicked out. Yeah, there's a couple more coming. Hold on.
And President Trump has been lied about by Democrats, has been lied about by the press. I mean, Russia collusion, come on. I haven't seen the press apologize for that. And many people, unfortunately, are still brainwashed on those lies. You know, well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you again for coming out tonight.
That's 6 or 7.
And
There's 7.
Thank you for your support. And I also am so excited. Thank you to the City of Baton Rouge. I'm thrilled to have this part in my district. We've had great meetings today and look forward to working with everyone. And also, I'll say this. I know one thing about Georgia 14. Georgia 14 is not going to be intimidated by funded Democrat protests and by people that came in that aren't from our district. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. What is that?
Boy, that was exhausting. Jeez. Okay. Hold on just a moment. Hold on just un momento. I got to bring this back over here. It's so exhausting, y'all. I just don't know what to say with this. I really don't. Like I said, Marjorie Taylor Greene is definitely known for doing stuff like this, okay? Screaming out, being overly loud, and just making a bunch of noise and ain't saying nothing. She does that in Congress. Now, there has been, since people keep bringing it up, she brought it up, the people in the thing keep bringing it up. I need full understanding and transparency of this situation when it comes to the quote-unquote Maryland father who was deported, they say, by accident. And he went to El Salvador. They took him to El Salvador. And then the El Salvadorian president, he comes through looking like the damn salt guy. You know the salt guy? He comes through looking like the salt guy into the White House and basically says, no, we're not going to send him back. Like, we don't have any reason to send him back. He was already in trouble, so we're going to just keep him down there. And people seem to be upset. So here's my question. I need to know, was this guy really a criminal? Whose story is false? Because they're too far from each other. And the middle ground, only thing in the middle is the fact that it's the same person that they're talking about. But I need to know. Because I'll be damned if I'm going to be out here protesting for somebody that was going to get locked up and deported anyway. Like they were already looking for him. He already had deportation orders, or so I've heard. Because that could be false. There's been so much false shit spread around lately, I can't even have a full opinion because I might be opinionated about the wrong thing. I appreciate full information and correct information and accurate information. So here's the question. Did that man have deportation orders already, like they're saying? And was he somehow affiliated with gang culture? But you know what's funny? The second part doesn't mean anything. If he was or what, he could have been an OG that used to be in a gang, still had an old tattoo. I've seen dudes come out of jail like that, where they don't even be about that life, but they take their shirt off and they got all types of swastikas and shit on their chest. You know what I'm saying? So I've seen that before. So I don't know about his previous gang ties, but here's the question. Did he have, did they have some because you know what? I'm going to let Pam Bondi talk about it because y'all keep pulling me in two directions with it, and I don't want to have the argument if I don't know what the hell is true and what's false. Either the dude wasn't supposed to be here or he was. And if he committed a crime and he wasn't supposed to be here, then he's where he's supposed to be, and we shouldn't be arguing about it. If he didn't do that, then he's not where he's supposed to be, and we should be having an argument about that. But I don't know which one is true because the two stories are too far from each other. So I'm trying to research. I'm getting the news story saying this loving Maryland father got deported by accident. Then on the other side, he's an MS-13 asylum seeker who was told that his country was not part of the asylum group. Or it's like they determined that he wasn't eligible for asylum. That's what I heard. So it's hard for me to have. You see what I'm saying? It's tough, man. So if y'all can get me some real shit. And not just one side. Give me two people saying the same thing on opposite sides. That way I can at least see what we're talking about. Because I don't know what the hell we're talking about. I don't. Either he was or he wasn't. Either he had already been to deportation court or had not. And I don't understand if he had already gone through that process, why are people upset that he was being deported if he was told that he was no longer given asylum status because apparently he didn't qualify or whatever it was. I don't know. But that's what I'm hearing. So bring it to me. I'll look into it. All right? Just make sure you don't send me no New York Times articles. Because they always want me to subscribe. They won't even let me read the shit. I got to pay to read. That's ridiculous. You pay for TV. I got to pay to read stuff. So anyway. But this is taking me into where our problem is. because of how we feel on social media and how people feel on social media and how this information is coming across, a lot of times we start feeling empathetic for things that don't really deserve our empathy at all. They don't deserve our sympathy if it is certain things. And so what they'll do is they'll cut out the pieces that that you're supposed to empathize with, or they'll add a couple extra pieces for you to empathize with, and it literally changes your whole perception on the situation. That is so diabolical and dangerous. And it is by design. Don't think this shit is by accident. There are people that sit in boardrooms trying to figure out how to change your mind with television, advertisements, all types of stuff. They are literally plotting on you. Every day, there's somebody that gets paid to come up with concepts for social engineering, for phishing emails. You see what I'm saying? There are people whose only job is to figure out how to twist up your mind. So, instead of letting them have a fun time at their freaking job, let's be objective, let's find out full information, let's see what's going on. But anyway, when we're talking about the, because we're going to talk, since we're in government now, and we're going into our main topic, which is the debacle that has become social media justice, as I call it. It's like if you guilty on social media, then you're just guilty. No due process, none of that. Just if social media says you guilty, you guilty. And that's how we get to this privilege popping thing. So this next story I'm going to get into as we get into our Poppin privilege, if you want to be outraged about this one, I have my own anger, but it's for different reasons. Apparently, Pam Bondi and the Department of Justice have now decided to sue the state of Maine. Sorry. She came in, Pam came in a little hot. So they're suing the state of Maine for basically not banning transgender athletes from performing in women's sports. That's what the story came in as. So we're going to go ahead and let Pam talk her stuff. But I'm going to start by saying I think it's all a ridiculous waste of time. Told you guys how I feel about time. It's the most precious commodity. And we just be wasting it. Why are they suing people? I don't know. But we'll let Pam talk about it. We're going to let Pam talk about it, man. It's that bullshit. All right, Pam, what you got to talk about? Come on, Pam. Give it to me. All right, so Pam is unveiling the actions against Maine over their transgender policy. We'll give her a couple minutes until she gets to the guests, because then they start talking about their daughters that were defeated. I think we've got, I can't remember the lady's name, the blonde-haired lady's name. Riley Gaines. There she is. She's in the corner. You might not be able to see her.
Good morning. With me here today, I have our great Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon.
Here's Riley Gaines.
Representative Laurel Libby of the Maine State House. Linnea Saltz of IWF Women's Sports Advocate. Stephanie Turner of Fence Women.
All right, here we go.
Today, the Department of Justice is announcing a civil lawsuit against the Maine Department of Education. The state of Maine is discriminating against women by failing to protect women in women's sports. Pretty basic stuff. This is a violation of Title IX. The Department of Justice will not sit by when women are discriminated against in sports. This is about sports. This is also about these young women's personal safety. I've met many of these women throughout the past weeks and months, and what they have been through is horrific. We have exhausted every other remedy. We tried to get Maine to comply. We don't like standing up here and filing lawsuits. We want to get states to comply with us. That's what this is about. Okay. We have repeatedly notified Maine of its infractions and urged them to remedy the situation to protect women. We've stripped grants from Maine through other departments, and we are going to continue to fight for women. Let me give you some examples. Let me give you a timeline. This timeline, I think, is pretty important. So in February 2024, these are just a few examples. a biological boy started competing in women's ski races and cross-country races in Maine. He came in first in the 5K with a time that would have been 43rd among men. In February 2025, a biological boy won first place in the pole vaulting competition in Maine's indoor track and field meet. He beat every other girl by a significant margin. That qualified him for regional championships. That took a spot away from a young woman in women's sports. Shame on him. February 21st, 2025. President Trump has the governors at the White House. President Trump has the exchange with Janet Mills. He asked her about the issue. Her response, "We'll see you in court." Well, we still didn't sue. HHS and the Department of Ed opened investigations in an attempt to get them to comply. They both found violations. And in March, Maine refused to comply. I want to read you this letter.
I'm going to pause it for 1 second. So basically, they warned Maine's Department of Education about having biological males in women's sports. The Trump administration put out that executive order where they basically banned that. So once the state decided to continue doing so, they were in violation of a federal policy. And so now Pam Bondi is basically going to sue them. And I just got to ask the question, why is this such a thing? Who are you people that are so for this, that the damn federal government has to waste their time with this? I have young ladies in my family, grandchildren, I have daughters, and I'm not with this thing, man. And I just want to know, why are people so with it? I'm not trying to discriminate against people who have gender identity and all this other stuff, but how about the little girls, man? Like, the examples they set are always the same. The person sucked as a guy or would have sucked as a guy. They come over to women's sports and they're winning all the championships. Now, with that being said, I have seen a couple of clips of women whooping men's asses, but they were biological women and they were like taekwondo artists, you know, masters and stuff. So that does happen. There are women that can whoop a guy's ass in general. Now, in high school, in college, there's some significant physical differences that can happen if we're talking about males versus females. It just is what it is. So why is it such a thing? Let me just say this on behalf of myself and no one else. I apologize to anyone who is of the transgender community who feels slighted because they have to play in a sport with the group of people that they were initially identified as per gender, right? I'm sorry if that makes you feel a certain type of way. But I'm also, similar to how Pam Bondi and them keep standing on this, I got to think about the young ladies who are going through that. And that really should be who we are most focused on. So I don't want to hear all of this when you tell a male person that they can't be in female sports, that's discrimination. The sport is already discriminatory. That's why it's called women's blah, 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 and men's blah, blah, blah. It's already discriminatory at its face. So if they decide to keep certain things out of it, that should be fine. And if they can prove that there's some advantage that is presented, then we should be able to understand that. So I need to know who is standing on this. Who is it that's forcing them to have to sue? Who's in the constituency? Who's the parents? Who are these people that are making it such a big deal that the federal Department of Justice now needs to get involved? Why? Why Maine? Now, granted, I wasn't planning on going to Maine anytime soon, but why Maine? Why? What is going on up in Maine that I don't know about, that the greater population of the Manians, I guess that would be what they're called, the Manians, want dudes playing women's sports? Is there not enough women playing the sports? Are they just not good? I mean, I don't get it. I don't get the argument, and I don't see why it keeps happening. We got so much other shit to worry about, and I'm sorry if people feel slighted about things, but you need to understand that there are young women playing in these sports, and a male person dominating the sport is very disheartening to them. It took them a lot of years to have their own spaces to excel in like that. So it's wrong for anybody, male, to invade that space. I feel like that. You can hate me if you want to. It is what it is. But I'll tell you what, I don't want my granddaughters playing with no when they get to high school. Now, when they're 6, 7, and they're doing co-ed sports, all right, no big deal. We're talking about mid to late high school when there's money on the line. Scholarships are on the line. You see what I'm saying? The college makes money off of these sports. So there's money on the line. And now with the new NIL deals and all that stuff that NCAA athletes can have, it's not right, okay? It's just not right. So we need to stop having this damn argument. I already said how I feel. I think they just need to have their own leagues. I know that sounds crazy, but the leagues are discriminatory at their root. That's why there is women's NBA and men's NBA. So if they want to segment certain things based on male and female, which is what they did, we got to stick to that. Why all of a sudden in the last 5 years or so, maybe 10, all of a sudden none of that shit means anything anymore? We got to keep arguing about it. So I get it. The states have rights to make certain laws. And then there's federal laws as well. I just don't understand why it's such an argument. If the feds say, look, if you don't do this, we're going to sue your whole state. We're going to cut off funding. We're going to cut off the funding to the colleges. We're going to cut off the funding to your state, your SNAP program. We're going to cut every federal dollar that comes in your way off if you don't take these males out of women's sports. And then they say, all right, fine, take it. I just don't see why. I don't want to stand on that hill. And maybe it's just me, but I'm entitled to my opinion. I think that's a dumb thing to go down for. I think that you allow the policy to be what it had been for many, many years and just leave that alone. Leave it alone. If you're a male, leave women's sports alone. I don't want to see your balls hanging out playing WNBA. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see you in a one-piece swimsuit with the same suit the ladies have on and you got a bulge in the bottom. I don't really want to see that. You see what I'm saying? I mean, truthfully, all the swimmers wear super tight stuff, so it doesn't matter what you watch. But you get my point. You get my point. If there's an unfair advantage, that should be the end of the damn conversation. Right there. That's where it should have ended. When they could prove that this person was dominating in one side and wasn't that good in the other side. That should have been at the end of it. But instead, now we got Pam Bondi out here trying to sue a whole state legislation over this. And you're right, guys. I see y'all in the chat.
This is from the Maine Attorney General.
All right, so here's what Maine says.
The Department of Education. We will not sign the resolution agreement. We do not have revisions or a counterproposal. We agree we are at an impasse. Nothing in Title IX or its implementing regulations prohibits schools from allowing transgender girls and women to participate on girls' and women's sports teams. Well, they must not be reading the same Title IX that we're reading. We believe they are failing to protect women, and it's not only an issue in sports. It is a public safety issue. These boys are allowed to go in women's restrooms. They are allowed to go in the women's dressing rooms and get fully naked and change in biological boys and change clothes in front of these young women. Maine's leadership has refused to comply at every turn. So now we have no other choice. We are taking them to court.
All right, so to help y'all out real quick, Title IX is a federal law that prohibits sex discrimination in schools and other educational programs that receive federal funds. It applies to all aspects of education, including admissions, athletics, and sexual harassment. So it protects people from discrimination based on sex in education. I don't know. When Title IX was initially signed back in 1972 by Nixon, I don't know if they had all this in mind. I would just be honest. I think it had to do more with like women being able to play sports and men being able to play sports, or You know, I'm not really sure because it says it prohibits sex discrimination in schools and other educational programs that receive federal funds, right? So sex discrimination technically is saying if you're male, you can't play in female sports, and if you're female, you can't play in male sports. That would be sexual discrimination, right? Or gender discrimination. Maybe that's gender discrimination, and sex is the who you sleep with thing. Let me double check this. I need to see here. Yeah, it does. You know what? I'm gonna be real. Looking at Title IX, I don't understand why it's been melted into the whole letters thing, but it's basically like a gender equity. It's very confusing. But the main thing is, it doesn't sound like a good argument. Like even if there was no Title IX, like if that didn't exist. Having young males changing in front of young ass females is not acceptable, y'all. It's not acceptable, okay? Even if that guy thinks he's a girl, it's not, the young ladies aren't liking it. We need to be listening to them because it is their side of the sport. So if they're saying they're not comfortable with it, like the lady that took a knee when she realized she had a male opponent on the other side of a fencing competition, and then she got in trouble for that. It might have been in Maine. I don't remember where it was at, but she got in trouble for saying, yo, I'm not doing this with this guy. I'm not doing this with this guy. So why are we forcing it? I just don't get it, man. You know what? I'm going to let Pam finish up, and I'm going to get off this story, because to me, it just seems like a dumb argument. It doesn't make any sense to me. Because I've lived in a world where there was girl sports and guy sports, and that's what it was. And if you was good as a girl or you was good as a guy, you got the accolades being so. It was always a competition, and some people were not going to be as good as others. And they didn't get to just switch teams to the girls' team because they weren't doing well on boys' varsity. You understand what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense to me, so that's why I can't have the argument. I don't know why they suing people. It should be a conversation. Or just cut off the damn funds. If that's what your threat is, then just do what the hell you said you're going to do. Don't take nobody through no long-ass court case. What are you going to win? What's going to be won? Money? No. They'll just say, yeah, Maine, y'all got to do that. Or, nah, Maine, y'all don't have to do that. After we waste a year or so on resources and stuff for this court case. Stupid, man. All right, Pam, finish up, please. I'm getting frustrated. Hurry up.
What we are seeking an injunction to get them to stop what they're doing. That's pretty simple. And we are seeking to have the titles returned to the young women who rightfully won these sports.
Ooh, I didn't
and
hear
we
that.
are also considering whether to retroactively pull all the funding that they have received for not complying in the past. And I'm so proud of these brave young women standing behind me. I see lots of parents in the front too, and I've met you. Thank you to the parents for supporting your daughters and telling them it's okay to fight back and stand up for what they believe in. Some of these young women have endured vicious injuries, too, as a result of boys playing in their sports. It's my honor now to introduce to you our Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon.
All right, so I'm going to stop it there because Linda McMahon's basically, they're all going to say the same thing. They're going to give you a couple examples of dudes doing stuff in women's sports and, winning. They're going to tell you about how uncomfortable it made people like Riley Gaines. They're going to tell you the same thing over and over and over again. And let me just say, I agree with these points that they're making. It's not about political party. This is like, I got family, I got kids. So to me, it doesn't make sense that a young male would be in front of a bunch of females in the females' locker rooms and all up in their sports. None of that makes sense to me. So that's why I don't get it. So anybody that comes in, I know I just probably pissed off somebody that might be a trans advocate. And that's fine. We're all entitled to our advocacies in whatever direction. I think this is a horrible argument to keep having. I think it's a waste of time to keep having this argument. I do. I think it is. I really do. I don't know why they're so pressed about it, though. Like, I get it. You want people to feel a sense of accomplishment in winning things, so you put them in a space where they can win. That's like when I was a kid, they would have some of these kids that were like older but lighter in football, and because they were like small, they didn't get to play with their age group like that. So they would put them in like kind of a younger age group so that they could get a little bit more playing time, get a little bit more training, and basically get some wins under their belt so they could feel confident. So this seems like the same thing, except we're talking about, penises instead of older but lighters. We want people to feel good and have wins in their life because positive energy begat positive energy, so on and so forth. Negative energy does the same in the other direction. So I get that. That's why I just think they should just have their own league. If there's enough of those people, hey, I'll put it to you like this. The chances of a regular dude making it to the NBA are very, very slim. But let's say they had a TNBA. Couple of dudes might be able to make it over in the TNBA. You see what I'm saying? And they be dunking, but they got a wig on. It might be pretty exciting. It might be. It might be. But all I'm going to say is, I don't like this argument. I think it's a dumb argument, and I don't care who you are. I don't think dudes should be playing in women's sports. If you can't cut it with us, then you ain't that dude. And that's just something that you got to learn in life. You don't get to just switch over, and now you over here dominating. Now you want to talk trash like you the best at something. I get it. You want people to be confident, but there's a difference between confidence and basically lying or rigging the game. That's kind of like rigging the game. So anybody knows, or at least the people that I know that this is not a good argument. I'm not upset per se that they're utilizing legal recourse. I just think the Department of Justice got some other shit they need to be dealing with right now. And if people in Maine don't want to tell the people in their state that they don't want dudes in the sports, then I don't really think that's the feds that should have to deal with that. It should be the parents in the state. It should be the actual legislation in that state should be the ones that's having this argument. Just like the deletion of children argument. It's a state level argument. Just like marijuana legalization in these days is also a state level argument. So I don't think this should be at the federal level or taking up federal resources, but whatever. That's what they're doing. So y'all can feel how you want about it, but you know how I feel. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next story, please. All right, so real quick before I get into this next one, make sure y'all hit that like button, man. We're fighting against an algorithm change. So right now is a good and bad time for YouTube live streaming. So you got to like the stream. You got to share the stream. Super chat the stream, whatever you can do to make sure that the YouTube algorithm knows that you're having a good time over here. And that's really what it is, okay? A lot of times I know folks get so into the show that they forget their duty of liking and sharing the live and making sure that other people are aware that this is going on. But nonetheless, let me give out a couple of quick shouts, and I'm going to get into our last little story, and I'm getting out of here, okay? But just want to give a couple of shouts to Ghost40 in the chat. Adam in the chat. We got Albon. That's my super mod right there. Albon is my super mod. He's been on for every episode for weeks now. And let me just let you know, bro, I love you for that. I really appreciate it. It's funny that a lot of people don't even know what time this thing comes on, but you here for every last one, and you earned the big wrench. Pause. But you know what I'm saying. All right. Shouts to Adrian Kennedy in the chat. IAMZ, of course, stopping in. Donald J. Plump was here for a second, but he realized the Troll Patrol was here, so he didn't say much. But I still appreciate you stopping by. So the rest of y'all, make sure that if you are just getting in here and you're not a subscriber to this channel, make sure that you do subscribe to this channel right now, okay? Because this next story is going to piss some people off. It just is what it is, and I don't care. It is what it is. Because I've been trying to stay away from this story for the simple fact that I don't like what I call in the man who will be social justice in social media. You guys may have heard of a story recently about a young man and another young man. There's a guy named Carmelo Anthony, not the basketball player, no relation, and another gentleman named Austin Metcalf, okay? They got into a skirmish at a track meet, and Carmelo Anthony apparently pulled out a blade and stabbed him in the chest, and he later passed away. So there's been a lot of outcry in this, and the outcry has come from this racial side, which I don't like. The facts are the facts. Someone lost their lives, somebody's child is gone. Someone else is being held for that particular crime. And recently, there was a reduction in the bond for Carmelo Anthony. And this sparked a social media outrage on two sides of the equation here. His bond was like $1 million, okay? The judge came in, and of course, it was a black woman judge. So this is where you start throwing these things, and it creates the narrative, folks. Y'all, I hate to say it, but y'all didn't have a white judge that y'all could have done this with, because I'll tell you what would have happened, right? If they'd have put the white judge up there and the white judge wouldn't have lowered his bond, then it would have been racial that way, right? So I feel like if they could have put maybe a total opposite of this Carmelo Anthony kid, give us a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white lady judge and have her reduce the bond, and then it wouldn't be so much all of this, you know, oh, they only reduced the bond because the judge was black and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Okay, here's the thing. It's a very tough case. Nobody deserved to go out like that. There's a good chance that Austin Metcalf was bullying Carmelo Anthony, just from the information I've seen. They haven't released all the video of the people that were around, because apparently this thing ensued over the course of a few minutes. It wasn't a quick knee-jerk response like they tried to make me think. I don't know what they made y'all think, but they made it seem like this kid walked up, he said something to the other kid said, touch me and find out. He touched him and he found out. And that's what they made it seem like. They didn't make it seem like there was a back and forth conversation. There was 5 minutes of this sort of interaction, and a bunch of people got it on camera. We haven't seen this film yet, but it will come out. But let's just be honest here. Someone lost their lives in this, and someone does need to be held accountable. Now, of course, there's this whole self-defense thing, and they're trying to say, well, if he was black and the person that he stabbed was if he was white and the person that he stabbed was black, it would be racial on the other end, and all the black people would be talking about, we're tired of white people killing us and all of that kind of stuff. And now because it's a black person doing this to a white person, now all of a sudden he's a hero, or he's well justified within what he did. Now, like I said, from the preliminary information I'm getting, I can make no full reference or inference to what is going to be the outcome of that case. So I'm going to let a lawyer talk about it, and we're going to see what they say, and then we're going to have a quick convo on this thing, because here's my thing. Justice will be served. And if he did this maliciously and was not defending himself from imminent harm, then he's going to do some time. But even if he does a little bit of time, it's his first charge. So you would be hard-pressed to say he's going to get the death penalty. You'd be hard-pressed to say he's going to get life. You'd be hard-pressed to say he's going to get anything more than 10 years. And it'll get commuted for some other reason. Maybe it'll be because of good behavior, or if he's just not doing it as fed time, he's doing his regular time, and he's only doing 70% of it, 75% of it. So it'll be out in 5 to 7 years. That's my bold prediction, is that they will find him guilty of something, because you can't just let people run around stabbing people. Can't do that. But it's not going to be some inordinate long period of time, and then people are going to be pissed on both sides. The people that want him to go for a long time are going to be mad he ain't go for a long time. The people that didn't want him to go at all are going to be mad he went at all. There's no winning this argument. So we'll just take the legal stance on it. This is not about black and white no more. I'm through with the black and white shit. This is now a merit-based, non-color identifying society. Remember that? Merit-based shit that Trump was talking about? Non-discriminatory merit-based society? Law first, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Let's see if it holds true. But if it's true, hey, we're going to find out. So I'm going to let this lawyer talk his shit. He came up on Cuomo's show, Chris Cuomo, I think is how you pronounce it. And here's the thing. Here's the thing. Dewdrop, thank you for stopping in the chat as well. I understand what you're saying, okay? Dewdrop is saying that it wasn't malicious, that those children jumped him because he was black, and he defended himself. Now, I don't know that to be true. I don't know if they jumped him because he was black or if they just didn't like him, and they got beef. Beef don't have a color. Beef has a person. So maybe they just had beef. I don't know. What I do know is that Carmelo Anthony felt that he needed to have a weapon with him in this place, meaning that he had already been subjected to some type of adversity, so he was already on a heightened sense of security, which makes it very tough to remove the premeditation of it. You see what I'm saying? If you do so, I had a friend of mine. I'm just going to tell a quick story. Let me get to the clip. I had a friend of mine years ago who his daughter was assaulted by a guy, right? He approaches the guy. This is in Baltimore. He approached the guy in Baltimore, and they got to arguing, as they would, and there happened to be, they got to fighting. They literally got to fighting. And the guy whose daughter it was who had been sexually assaulted picked up a scooter, one of them razor scooters, them little metal ones, and hit the dude over the head with it, and the dude ended up dying. And he had to go do some years for that. Now, their premise was when he picked up the object, he knew that the possibility of taking a life was available. And the other person who was fighting him didn't have a weapon. And he obviously, at that time, they say he kind of knew that. Like they had been wrestling around or whatever. He knocks the guy out. He comes back with this scooter. Guy gets up and he hits him over the head with the scooter. He went and did about 15 years for that. And really, he was defending his daughter who had been sexually assaulted. So the act was noble, and this person came to the house. So he was on his own property, and one of the kids' scooters was right there, and that's how that ended up happening. But he went to jail for that. Defending his daughter, person on his property, randomly grabbed an object. They called it a crime of passion. He got a manslaughter charge for it, not a murder charge. So this is what I believe will happen on the Karmelo side. They can't charge him with premeditated murder unless they can honestly assess that he was talking about doing this before it actually happened. Like if he wrote something down, the next time I see Austin Metcalf, I'm going to put a knife in him. Like, unless he said or did something like that, you're not going to get a capital one on him. You're not going to get a capital murder on him, okay? So just don't even press that charge. That's dumb. It'll get thrown out. So that might be what they end up doing. They charge him too high, then it gets thrown out. I've seen that done before, too. They do it so the public feels like they're trying to do something, but then they throw it out at the end because the charge was too high and they can't prove it at that level. So, but like I said, I'm not saying that Carmelo Anthony was wrong or right. What I'm saying is the law has these little loopholes in it, and that's where everybody's getting kind of crazy, is they're saying the law is different for black people versus white people. Well, I'll be honest with you. His bond being, downgraded 75% on a murder charge, that's crazy to hear. Most of the guys I know that go on an M1, oh my God, they sit there till it's court time. They don't go back in the community because they're worried that they might do it again. So it's honest of what happens. But hey, Dewdrop, I feel you. But there's a bunch of good kids out here that make bad decisions. And to be honest with you, he probably was scared. He probably was scared. But it still was a bad decision to take somebody's life at that time. Because back in my day, we used to throw hands. And if I'm in bleachers, we rolling down these bleachers. It's going to be a situation up in here. Actually, that gives me the upper hand. A flat surface is a whole different thing. These bleachers, people got to navigate that. I can run up and down them and start throwing people down bleachers, and they're going to keep rolling. There's ways to deal with things like this without having to initially do that. And where my problem was is they said the guy got jumped. But when they showed his mug shot and all this, he didn't really seem like he had gotten beat up. He looked fine. You know what I'm saying? So it takes away from the whole I was in imminent danger, I was fearing for my life. He didn't have any injuries. So that, like I said, it just, when you put it on the plate like that, I get it. He was a good kid, good GPA. But how many people out here have committed heinous crimes with no previous record? So just because you're a good kid doesn't mean you can't make a bad decision, okay? And I don't care what nobody says. It was a bad decision to take that boy's life. Now, if you wanted to knock him out or give him a damn Spartan kick down the bleachers, and then let's say something happened, he, maybe broke his neck and that happened, what would y'all be saying then? Okay? So, I'm going to let Chris Cuomo and his crew say their little piece, but like I said, I'm not taking no racial side on it. If the boy was wrong, the boy was wrong. Somebody's child is gone. They shouldn't have been messing with each other. Back in the days, bullying wasn't worth dying for. I had a guy that used to bully me when I was a kid. I never once thought to bring a knife to his chest. You see what I'm saying? Because I hate to say it, I had a little bit more moral compass and was like, you know what? Forget this. I'm not going down for this person. It's not even worth it. So nonetheless, I'm going to let Cuomo talk his little thing real quick, and then we're going to have a couple minutes of after, and then we're going to get out of here, okay? Because I got stuff to do, as usual. And I hear you do drop. I get all of these things, but we're talking emotional stuff with that. It's all emotion. Legally, if you bring a weapon to a place and you go grab that weapon before you have been accosted, you see what I'm saying? Now you're premeditating your actions after the fact. You know you're armed. So it's like, all right, I might fight this dude, but if it gets out of hand, he got to go. That's where that premeditation comes in. But a man 1 or man 2 or even a man 3 does not require premeditation. It requires you to act out and somebody lose their life because of your actions. Not a hard case to prove in this one. I'm just being real. If they go man 2, he's going to get that. He might not get no long time, but he's going to get that one. You don't get that. Sorry. So anyway, let's let Cuomo do his thing. Sorry, I didn't mean to do all that. Like I said, drop. I feel you. But I know the law too, and they're gonna work on manslaughter. It's not a murder charge. It's not a premeditated murder 1, murder 2. No, it's a manslaughter charge. That's what it is. Or it'll be manslaughter and reckless endangerment at the same time. Negligent homicide. They got a bunch of other little classifications that they can find you guilty on. Like they could know that you're not going to go down for this high crime, so they break the crime down to something they know they can get you guilty on. I've seen this done in court a million times. They'll do it on the day of the trial. They'll all of a sudden start putting in these motions to change the charges to something else that they know they can get you on. Okay? So just understand, he is not going to go scot-free unless they try him for a murder charge, premeditated capital murder, to which they have to prove that it was all premeditated and he thought this whole thing up. If they go for that, no, he will get off. It'll be a mistrial because you need unanimous decision on that. Okay? We're going for preponderance of the evidence. That's a different statute. Okay? And preponderance of the evidence says he came there knowing that he might have a problem, so he brought a weapon. When approached with that problem, people were either bothering him, I don't know. I haven't seen those other videos. But when approached with that problem, he chose to take life. When you stab people in the chest, your thought is, if I put this in your chest, you might not make it out of here. When you get to slicing and stuff like that, you might buck 50 somebody on the cheek. That doesn't necessarily mean that you were trying to unalive them. But when you plunge a knife into a chest, your thought is threat eliminated at that point. So like I said, manslaughter, watch. Man 2, that's what they're going to try for. So let's see what the actual lawyers say. I'm not a lawyer. I just study a lot of law stuff because I've had to, unfortunately, deal with that system in civil and criminal cases. So don't ask me.
for justice in this case. District Attorney Greg Willis. Thank you very much for joining me, sir.
That looks like a cyborg.
So you have charged first-degree murder on the books in your state. That means he knew what he was doing. He had time to plan and think about what he was doing, and he did it with an intent to kill. Is that what you believe?
Well, let me just say this. That's what he has been arrested for. My office has not yet received the case.
There you go.
But I will say this, Chris, this case has really struck a nerve in our community. I mean, people are upset, and rightfully so. I mean,
now, are those photoshopped mugshots here? Or is this just a picture of him in the school? This looks like a mugshot. Now, he might have a little beamer up under that left eye there, or right eye. He might have a little beamer right there. But other than that, you know, I've seen people get jumped. They don't look like that when they done. They be lip be swole, nose bleeding, you know what I'm saying? Footprint right across the wrinkles in their forehead, that thing. So I'm not saying that they weren't bothering them. I'm just saying when you get jumped, you get jumped. And if you want to prove that your life was in danger, you should look like you were really being harmed seriously. I didn't see a medical thing yet. Like I said, there's a lot of evidence that needs to be brought. But you heard that lawyer. Cuomo mentioned that murder one. The lawyer said, that's what he got arrested for. Because they know good and damn well it's going to be hard to prove that. Unless they got some previous thing that he wrote. Next time I see Austin, it's on site or something like that. So, anyway, let me keep going.
I mean, people are upset, and rightfully so. I mean, we've lost a young life, and the pain is real. At a time like this, it's hard for anyone to be level-headed about this, but that's our job, to be steady, be fact-based, and to follow the truth wherever it may lead.
What do you need to know under the law in your jurisdiction for self-defense to apply?
Well, as you can imagine, it's very fact-based, and of course I can't address the particular case, but that's what's so important. For Frisco is still in their investigation, and whenever they finish that up in the next few weeks, they will forward it to my office. We will vet everything very, very carefully and ultimately prepare it for a grand jury presentation. And so the grand jury will decide whether this case goes forward. I mean, I would expect it to, because most cases do go forward, but I can't comment on this particular one.
I got it. I just want people to understand the standard. What does self-defense mean under your law?
Well, it gets pretty involved, but I can just say that I'm trying to tiptoe around it so it doesn't look like I'm commenting on this particular case. But self-defense law in most states is pretty similar when you're not talking about the Castle Doctrine or something like that. So, you know, people look at the degree of response, you know, what the person is defending themselves against. I mean, I think people know about that. So I'd rather not get into the specifics of this.
It's not a stand your ground jurisdiction, is it?
Well, in a situation like this where you're at a school, well, there I go. You know, if you're outside of your home, then I would just say it's a pretty reasonable thing. People can say, hey, what's reasonable under the circumstances? And this person felt threatened for their life. How did they respond? Did they not feel threatened for their life? Did they feel something less than that? Then the law in Texas is similar to most states, which is if you're going to respond in self-defense, it needs to be proportionate to that situation.
Is this the trickiest case you've ever had to handle, not in terms of the facts and the law, but in terms of the optics and the overlay of the attention it's already getting? Because, let's be honest, because of the race and the race of the victim and the alleged assailant.
See, right there is a problem for me. The race shouldn't matter. It really shouldn't. I'm going to be real. I hate to say it, you know, because I am obviously black. So according to social media narratives, I'm supposed to just root for the black guy. And, hey, you know, white people been messing with black people all the time. Man, I ain't got time for that shit. You know why? Because unlike what some people believe, and even in my own chat, if you get jumped by some 6'2", 200-pound high school kids, they will tear your ass up. So let's stop with the whole they don't hit that hard. Have you ever been... I know a kid he just graduated, right? He was like 300 pounds, 6'8", at 16 years old. You understand what I'm saying? So I don't know what scrawny kids you talking about, but in my late high school years, when I was anything over 16 years old, I would have whooped a lot of grown men's asses. And if me and my boys like Tari and them would have been around, we would have took out a grown-ass man and it would have been swole up. So I can't side with that they hits don't hurt. We're not talking about 7-year-olds, man. We're talking about high school kids, late high school, juniors, seniors. Almost as big as they're going to be in life unless they start drinking beer and get a beer gut. But you get my point. What I'm saying is we can't use that on this, and we can't use race on this. What happened? Why did he have a knife? Why was he in that space antagonizing people if he thought he wasn't supposed to be over there? Or he was over there because he felt like he wanted to kind of say, I can sit where I want, like on something like that. I've heard that he was in a place where it would have been antagonizing to those folks. So I'm not blaming him for it. What I'm saying is, when you show up in a place that's going to start some animosity, right? And you come there with a weapon, that means that you have just left from the wish a nigga woods, okay? You are hoping that somebody tests you so you can do what you have these things around to do. That's it. Once you leave the wish a nigga woods, you are looking for whatever, whomever, however. And unfortunately, a lot of our youth, black and otherwise, come from the wish a nigga woods. They're literally seeking the conflict so that they can expel this negative energy that they have inside of them towards something or someone. And because this kid was smart, he probably understood stand your ground, self-defense, all that kind of stuff. So I'm pretty sure it was well thought out in that regard. But if it's racially motivated, this kid was in like a private school, right? So why wasn't he just running around stabbing white kids in general? That would be like he has a racial problem. You see what I'm saying? So when they start throwing these pieces out there that are far too high for you to actually grasp and put into the case, you got to eliminate that shit. Anybody that knows law knows that on a perfect day, race don't matter. And they're not going to lock him up just because he's a black kid that stabbed a white kid. And they're not going to let him free just because he's a black kid that stabbed a white kid. If he did what they say he did, and they present the case in such a way that there is irrefutable evidence that he did so, and they answer the questions and the requirements for the charge, then he should go to jail. I'm not saying that they weren't wrong for picking on him or bugging him or whatever they did. There's a lot of, you can be accountable on multiple sides, but somebody lost their life. And our legal system says when that happens, somebody has to pay for that. Somebody has to be punished for it. You see what I'm saying? So what are you just not, what? Is this going to be the new thing? If a white kid messes with a black kid, then black kids allowed to just stab him and keep it moving? No, we're not going to have that either. Black kids are already doing too much killing each other. They're already doing it too much. They already have a lowered value of other people's lives. So we're not going to let that narrative continue. That boy Austin he might have been a bully, but that was somebody's son, somebody's friend. He had a twin brother that now is going to grow up the rest of his life knowing his twin got killed. Like this, it's rough on all sides. It's rough for all the families. But I just want you to hear some of these catchphrases that this guy is talking about. Because he mentioned the stand your ground law, which is supposed to have to do with your home or right around your property. Obviously, he wasn't on his property. So the stand your ground law might not even hold on that one. So that's what he was trying to say without saying it. So I don't know. Self-defense, yeah, you defended yourself, but self-defense is also based on like the level of response. So if they feel that if he can prove that he felt that his life was in danger, then he'll be fine. But I think that's going to be hard to prove when you packing weapons and going to track meets. I didn't know it was going down like that. I didn't know the ops was at the track meets today. You see what I'm saying? I don't know. And that's my problem. That's my problem, Ghost 40, and thanks for stopping in as well, Ghost 40. My problem is this thought that this is just a racially motivated thing it seems to be like I'm going against the narrative by saying, I'm like, yo, if it's two kids, they're high school kids. Forget the color. They're two high school kids. High school kids get into shit all the time. I got in fights in high school. I saw a fight one time in my high school, and we had like this bridge that was enclosed in glass that went across from one side of the building to another side of the building. I saw two kids get in a fight on the bridge, and they went out the damn window, fell about 15 feet down to the courtyard. And I was standing right there. So I done seen some crazy stuff. And it was a black kid and a white kid. They didn't mention race when it was a problem. You see what I'm saying? So we got to stop worrying about race. Because the lesson to be learned here is on all sides. And it doesn't change because you're black or white. You shouldn't be killing nobody, and you shouldn't be bullying nobody. There are lessons to be learned on all sides. So if we can take it in objectively, pause, and just take it all in, pause, then we can really learn from this. Maybe we can teach our kids to do better. And I'm not just talking about black kids. I'm talking about kids, young people. Stop fucking with people. Stop stabbing and killing people. Stop. And it don't matter your race. Because if you get down to the bones of it, we all pink and white on the inside. Take away a couple layers of skin and see what color you are. And we all the same color, about 7 layers down. Just letting you know. So that shit don't matter. We created race. We created it. It was not constructed by God. That's why this shit's not mentioned early in the Bible or anything. Nobody understood it. Somebody came up with eugenics, and now we use the shit for everything. Instead of just being real and saying, hey, when you're carrying a weapon around, just because you just left out of the Wish a Nigga Woods. And when you leave the Wish a Nigga Woods, you are now, in my opinion, a danger to society. Because you just wishing somebody will push you so you can use this thing you done brought out the woods. And like I said, Dewdrop, I appreciate all of the details that you're putting in there too. Because we don't know if these kids were molested, or we don't know if these kids are there. What we do know is an altercation ensued to which somebody lost their life. And the person whose life was not lost naturally. There was a weapon involved. And it wasn't just a random weapon sitting around like the story I told earlier with a scooter that was in the grass close by. This person brought that weapon. Now, why they felt they needed to be walking around with a weapon, that's what remains to be seen. Why did you feel the need to be armed on that day? The answer to that question is going to be how the defense either wins or loses self-defense. And I don't think they're going to get it. I think he's going to get man 2, do 5 to 7, and he'll give him probation for 4. He'll do 3 years. Tops. Goes 40. Now that's prolific right there. 45 years on this planet. Met many races, but very few of them have been white people. That is a there's a couple people will disagree with you on that, especially those who are a little more than 45 years old. But, and I mean like a lot more than 44. We're talking about the 70s. The people in the 70s, 70-year-olds, they definitely would disagree with that. But that's because when they came up, that's what it was. That's when Biden was calling people colored kids. I don't know if y'all saw that clip. I was going to get to it today, but I don't really feel like covering Biden today. I'll come back to it if people talk about it. Because this case is very important. Because part of the reason why this channel is here is to help with community outreach, helping the youth not be so violent, so on and so forth. And this is a perfect example of it. So if we let this just happen, what lesson is it actually teaching the next kid? So no, I don't think Karmelo should get no death penalty or firing squad. No, it's his first charge. The kid was a 4.0 GPA student. He's an honor roll kid. No problems in his life before. Clean record. Not even a little juvenile. And yeah, he had a couple of pictures on Instagram where he's putting weird hand signals up. But these kids don't even know what the hell that shit means. And that's our fault because we're the ones that glorified the gang culture. And now we wonder why they're throwing up hand signals all the time. They're throwing it up because we put it in their face. And they grew up with it thinking it was okay. So if he has a picture with him holding money, that's because there's some now 40 and almost 50-year-old people that were on Instagram and Facebook and all that doing the same thing. These kids are mimicking what they see. They see violence, they mimic violence. They see people throwing weird hand signs up and shit. Now they're throwing weird hand signs up. They don't even know what the hand signs mean. I done asked these kids, what does that mean? They're like, I don't know, it's just a hand sign. I see everybody throwing up hand signs. The ignorance goes deep. So we can't allow it to continue past here. We can't allow it to continue. I get it. We feel empathy for any child that might have been bullied in the situation, but we also should feel empathy for a child losing their life. I don't know if Austin Metcalf might have turned out to be a great dad later in life. Who knows? I know some kids that were crap in high school, or some people that were crap in high school that turned out to be great men, that turned out to be totally different. And maybe if he'd have survived this incident, he might have learned from it and not been that same person anymore. I don't know. But the law is the law. And if you show up in a place armed, straight out the wish a nigga woods, you're gonna have a tough time proving self-defense. That's all I'm saying. Unless you were severely beaten by multiple people or something like that. And like I said, I haven't seen the video, so until then, I can't go with that. I'm just going with what they said so far, okay? So I'll let this little lawyer dude finish up. He's got 1 minute left. Then I'm going to close out because I do have to get out of here. But I appreciate the conversation because I'm tired of politics and the news. Because even in this, Chris Cuomo was the one that pulled the race card on this. The lawyer guy wasn't saying nothing about race. Cuomo mentioned race. And that's why I paused it, because I get so tired. Well, what about the fact that it's a black kid killing a white kid? Is that going to come into play? It shouldn't. It shouldn't even be a conversation. We made it a conversation. We the ones that started this race shit, man. Stupid. Anyway.
Well, it might be. The case is not even in our office yet, so I could certainly comment on that afterwards. I know it has really caught the attention of our community and around Texas and apparently the country. And people feel deeply about, our youth, our education, sports, and as you said, the other dynamics that are involved. And so there's a lot of different factors that make people care particularly about this case.
Thank you.
And that's why it's so important as the prosecutor for me to be level-headed, fact-based, steady, and just follow the truth wherever it may lead.
DA, there's going to be a ton of noise. The invitation is open for you and your team and the eventual defense team. You want things that are put straight and put in context. You have an invitation here that's open for the duration of the investigation and any adjudication that follows.
Well, thank you very much. This is a heartbreaking case.
That it is. That it is. Like I said, it's a very interesting case because of what is being assessed. See what I'm saying? It's like you should be able to defend yourself, and then the question becomes to what degree? And then the degree is based on the imminent threat that you're defending yourself against. So the proof that has to be made is you have to prove that that threat was a threat against your life. And then there's your stand your ground. But you still got reckless endangerment, you still got negligent homicide, you still got manslaughter 3 and 2 and 1. These are all charges that they could try to pull that are not murder 1, that they might have a much easier time trying to prove. Manslaughter, I'm not going to say it's easy to prove, but it's way easier to prove than premeditated murder. It just, because manslaughter, first you got to have somebody lose their life, and it's got to be a snap decision. That's it. That's all you got to prove. That person did it, and it was a snap decision, and they shouldn't have done that. And so he's going to have to prove self-defense. That's it. But if he's at any point before that day say, yo, the next time I see Austin, it's on, and then this happened, you can't bring out the self-defense joint. And he was going for that because he said, touch me and see what happens. He knew, or thought that he knew, that if he was touched, then now he's justified. That's why I said, touch me, see what happens. Whole time he knows he's armed. He's coming out to wish a nigga woods. I wish you would touch me so I can bring this thing out that I done brought over here to bring out if anybody touch me. Understand the wish a nigga woods. It's a dangerous place. Once you come out the wish a nigga woods, you are now a danger to society because eventually some nigga would. And it always ends badly for someone. And that's where we are. So I'm going to play this last little clip here. and then we getting up out of here. Because I'm tired of it.
A judge granted the request to lower the...
Now, this is where things got fishy, and everybody started acting funky, was because he got that bail reduced to $250,000 from $1 million bail. And like I said, there's a lot of gray area, and it really is a good conversation to have. But it really just goes to what's reasonable as a response. What's reasonable as a response? And I guess that depends on who you talk to. Some of us think everybody should die for everything. You know, some of us think everybody should die for everything. And then there's other people that are like, well, if you mess with my kids, I don't know about that. But everything else, we can, I might be able to get past certain. You mess with my kids, my moms, things like that. I can't help you on that. I'm going down for that manslaughter charge. I'm going down for that. But some stuff is just, it's a lot of gray area. So the big talk right now is on this bond being reduced. And they're saying that the only reason why the bond was reduced was because Carmelo Anthony is black, and they want to have sympathy for this black child who was accosted by these bullying Caucasian children. Okay? So this is the
bond
talk
for a
right
North
now.
Texas teen facing capital murder charges.
A big thank you to Republican Judge Angela Tucker on her brave decision to lower the bond for Carmelo Anthony.
Judge.
Wasn't it great seeing him walk out of the courthouse?
Carmelo, do you have anything that you'd like to say to the victim, to the family of the victim? Why were you armed, sweetheart? Carmelo, why were you armed at school?
That's a good question.
Explain
Wasn't at school though,
self-defense.
but they get it.
Self-defense.
That's our little sweetheart who's raised $430,000 and counting. The president of the Next Generation Action Network triumphantly posted, "Carmelo Anthony is safe at home. This moment is a reminder that a community united can never be divided." The journey ahead is long, but today we celebrate a victory for justice, for family, and for the power of people coming together to protect our youth. Thank you to everyone who stood with us. The fight continues, but tonight, Carmelo is home. Minister Dominique Alexander previously said this about the case.
We cannot allow white America to decide when and how black people can speak up against oppression.
All right, see, that's that bullshit right there. We cannot allow white America to dictate how and when black people speak up against white oppression. What the hell are we talking about? Was this kid oppressed? Wasn't that a private school? Was he oppressed? I mean, I don't know, guys, but they making it into this freaking Martin Luther King shit, and it's really just a high school beef that went bad. And they taking it, these people that made a whole bunch of money on GoFundMe, trying to raise money for his legal situation. They said he got like a new house or something, or a car. Now, I don't know how true that is because he just got the GoFundMe money like 2 days ago. So I don't know why you would go and splurge on a car. So I don't know how true that is. But they did raise $430,000 for his defense. Now let me say this. I can't even get a damn super chat in this bitch. And then he got $430,000. Not hating, just saying, maybe we're not supporting the right shit. Just being honest. I had a friend of mine, he was going through a situation a couple of weeks ago. He asked people to help through a GoFundMe, and they decided to clown the hell out of him. You broke ass, you broke as hell. Man, he was trying to save his house. Who knows what he was going through? But nobody was trying to help him out. Everybody was clowning him. Well, he was trying to keep a roof over his head. This kid had a nice roof over his head. Don't get it twisted. This was not no hood, single mama, ratchet ass crackheads, prostitutes in the house. This was not that kid. Okay? Now, I haven't seen the parents, but I'm sure that that's not who they were. I seen the school he went to, and that ain't no crappy school. So I don't know about all this oppression they talking about. I don't know about all this. I feel oppressed that you keep telling everybody they oppressed. That's all I'm saying. This is not about oppression. Let's just stick to the murder. That's all I'm saying. See, when we start working in this racial shit, it gets us away from the point. The point is somebody lost their life. The job of the officers, police, and lawyers is to deal with that from a legal standpoint. We want to turn it into another Black Lives Matter movement to which they made out. Remember Black Lives Matter? Remember that? All the people that started that shit ended up with $1 million houses. And then a couple weeks ago, they broke up the concrete where they painted all that stuff. So it's like the movement never even happened, but them people got money. In this situation, he got almost $450,000 in a week. Meanwhile, I can't get a $2 super chat on my channels knowing that we're taking up time, energy, and efficiency trying to put these stories out to you. But y'all send $50 to this kid for stabbing this white kid in the chest. Hate me if you want to. I'm just being real. It's oppressed. Here we go.
We do not.
First of all, how's oppressed people getting $430,000 in a week? Can you answer that shit? If you want to keep going with this oppression argument, how can an oppressed person get $430,000 given to them in a week? And not from no government entity, just other people, probably some white people too. I'm sure it was, because black people don't like to give up a lot for nothing. Like I said, can't get no support on us, a lot of us creators out here, but we'll throw $50 at this kid for stabbing somebody because we feel like he was oppressed. That's bullshit. I'm gonna let this guy finish. Sorry.
Pull the race card. We live it. We know that when people see a white and a black man in an unfortunate situation happen, that race always become a factor in that situation.
And
it's really because people don't want to really have a conversation about racial reconciliation in this country. In the current climate that we live in, where racism and bigotry is at the forefront.
But our boy Karmelo wasn't the only man who faced the right kind of justice. Take a look at this.
Moore is charged with aggravated rape, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, especially aggravated kidnapping, evading, and resisting arrest. DeJuan Moore's bond has been lowered from $800,000 to $300,000 in Judge Khadijah Babb's courtroom. Lowering bond like this undermines victims' pain.
That makes it seem like his life is more important than the victims that he sexually assaulted.
Sorry, maybe you haven't heard, but a community united can never be divided. In fact, we have another guy who could use a quality judge.
Kristen was sitting next to Jacob at this bus stop on the corner of 6th and Broadway when he was hit in the back of the neck with a hatchet by a stranger.
Seeing your husband was decapitated and being the only one to help, like it's hard.
The injury cut the artery in the back of his neck in half. It went so deep that it hit his skull.
The love of her life for over 11 years is in the ICU on life support. He's not expected to survive his injuries. Video surveillance captured the suspect walking away calmly from the scene.
I think we need to set up a GoFundMe for him immediately. We can easily raise $10 million for him.
3 days after the incident, officers were able to locate Michael at his home. Documents say during a search warrant, investigators found a hatchet in his apartment as well as clothes worn during the incident. Documents say Michael initially denied any involvement, but later admitted he had been drinking heavily and didn't remember anything. Records say the suspect then remembered confronting Jacob. Details as to what happened between the two men is still unclear.
It was probably self-defense. Jacob must have put his hands on him.
If you're going downtown while you're drunk, carrying a large machete like that, you have no other intentions other than to cause harm.
Coming right out the Wish a Nigga Woods. You guys understand where the Wish a Nigga Woods is now. And you do understand that when people leave that area, they are a danger to society. When you're walking around with a hatchet, you're just looking for a reason to use the hatchet. Now, you might start out just hitting signs and trees and shit, but some people don't have the moral capacity to stay with the inanimate objects and the things that aren't alive. So this is a pattern, guys, and it's not a racial pattern. It's a pattern of bad decision making. And every time it's a black person and a white person, we got this big to-do about it. But what about the fact that black people kill each other every day for way less? Just for being you on the wrong block, homie. You ain't supposed to be on this block, and somebody die over that. Just for going through the wrong stop sign. There's no outcry for that. So I don't want to hear no outcry for this. Because as soon as they throw this case away, if you go to the news today, there's 80 different murders that they could tell you about that were just as heinous, if not worse. But we send $430,000 to this guy because everybody's trying to make him a martyr for black people defending themselves against white oppression. I'm going to take one moment here to just breathe in because I don't know what school. Let's see what we got here. Frisco. Well, Frisco is like a place, right? All right, so it's Frisco Independent School District is the district. This is a private thing. This is not the oppressed black man, okay? He had no prior criminal record. He wasn't known for being a violent kid. And I'm not talking about this guy. Look at this guy's haircut, though. This is hilarious. You see this guy's haircut? I just saw it. This is not the guy we're talking about. I gotta get him off the screen because I'm trying to be serious here, and he's got that freaking cut. I'm trying to be serious here. So we're gonna take it back to the fact that they're basically blaming this judge lady for setting bonds too low for recent violent offenders. She may be wrong. She may be right. I don't believe that this Anthony kid is going to. I don't believe this Anthony kid is going to create or commit another heinous crime like this. I don't think that he was that kid. I think he made a bad choice that day. He responded emotionally to a situation where he may have been at fear for his life. He may have been. Like I said, there's a lot of footage I haven't seen yet from people that were like around the altercation as it happened. All I've seen is the news stories, which was just an aerial view of like a body bag. That gives me no context at all. Okay? So let me just be honest, man. It's a messy one, but I just think we gotta stop. It's like this, when you play spades, right? If you're trump tight on the spades, like you got all the spades, you know, all the way down, you got the 2 of spades, you got all the spades, 3, 4, all of them, right? You lead with the big joker, then everybody knows you got all the spades. Or they think you have no spades, and you're just getting this out the way because you don't have no books in your hand. Now, a good spades player would already know that you got it all. But here's the thing. When you play spades, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to start with the lowest spade and move your way up so the other players don't know that that's really what you're doing. And you'll run them out of spades, and then you'll still be dropping big stuff later. You do it in the other way to show off. You drop the big joker first, and then you come back down the line, and then everybody else will run out of spades, and your 3 and your 4 can get through. So that's like just a show-off way of doing it. But you can do it in the other direction, start with the smaller spade. What I'm tired of us doing is starting with the damn big joker of race. We always want to throw that down because it's a black person, white person. Just like the Jordan Neely thing, and it's always black person, white person. Well, guess what? Black people and white people live here, and every once in a while they're going to get into altercations, and every once in a while somebody's going to get hurt. And we need to let the legal system be somewhat fair in that. Now, we all know that on a grand scale, black defendants normally get more serious punishments for their crimes. We do know this. But it doesn't take away from the fact that we need to stop throwing things into the black room every time the parties are of different races. Not everything's racial. Some things are just violence. Some things are just snap decisions and bad decisions. That's all it is. And that's the problem, is we have really gotten to a point where we want to throw race in the shit so much, it's diluted now. It's hard for me to prove oppression for a private kid school with a 4.0 GPA that's got all types of money, and don't think that $430,000 just bought a house. You can't buy a house that fast, and $430,000 ain't enough for a mansion. So they were already living in the mansion. You see what I'm saying? So don't let them tell you that this is anything different than that. It's ridiculous. But I think that this Carmelo Anthony case is showing us what happens when social media becomes the courtroom's loudest voice. That's it. TikTok, X, Instagram, they didn't just cover the story, they shaped the whole damn story. from the bond reduction to the $500,000 fundraiser, the rise of black privilege, as we've heard about now. This is black privilege where you get to kill people because you're black and you were oppressed, even though you ain't never seen a day of oppression. Not no real oppression. You got to go back some years to get that. And it isn't about black Americans like as a monolith. It's about a system caving into pressure from like social people. It's the legal system. It's evidence. It shouldn't matter what the hell social media says, but it does. So if we want justice to be blind again, what we're going to have to do is turn down the volume on the social media outrage machine. Shit is stupid. And it starts with you. The people watching. I know the algorithm isn't liking to get this kind of stuff out to folks because it's real conversation and it's designed to bring us together instead of dividing us. And all they want us to do right now is be divisive. So that's why the race card is always an easy one, because it divides people automatically. But the next time you see a case trending, don't just retweet it. Don't just push it back out there, share it with people. Take a moment, dig into the details a little bit further, follow the evidence, and not just the hashtags of the evidence, not just the justice for Karmelo. No. Really go in. Because if not, this digital pressure, it be twisting y'all's minds. There is no world where stabbing people at a track meet is like a normal thing and you're just going to do that. And it's not okay because he was black and the kid was white. Those are dumb things to say. Okay? But if we look at the evidence and it says this or says that, it says he was defending himself, is whatever. Hey, we go with that. Shoot, George Zimmerman got off for killing Trayvon Martin. So I know people bringing that one up. You know what I'm saying? But we got to call out the double standards, whether it's on X or it's in the courtroom. Stop saying it's racial when it's not, because that doesn't help the case at all. And then the second there's an issue with it, then all of a sudden they can't find jurisdiction to hold the damn case because everybody's been caught into public opinion. We got to stop letting that drive us. We know better. You know better. I know better. That's why I'm having this conversation, because I'm tired of y'all getting pulled into shit and y'all haven't really taken the time to just be fully objective to it and let the legal thing run its course. And then you go figure out how you can do more so that the next kid doesn't get unalived over some goofy ass beef that's going on at a track meet. Because this is the world that we live in. People get hurt. We know it. But diversity has its consequences. By having diverse people, you'll have people of different races in the same places, and then shit will pop off. That's just people not liking each other or people disagreeing with each other. It's not necessarily racial. It really isn't. So we got to stop jumping to that, because guess what? They're not going to charge Carmelo Anthony with a hate crime. You see what I'm saying? So shut up about the race thing, because it does nothing to help this case. And if you get the public in an outroar, you're not going to be able to get a non-objective jury to hear this thing correctly. And honestly, I don't want that kid to get no death penalty, but he should have to face some consequence. Some consequence. Nothing's going to bring Austin Metcalf back to his family or friends or anybody that loved him. But we can move forward and we can start discussing the real problem, which is conflict resolution. And the fact that our kids don't know how to not be overly fucking emotional when they're in a situation. The stuff that you see on GTA and Fast and Furious and all that, that's cinema, guys. When you go and put a knife into somebody and you take their life, you might mess up the rest of your life. And if we can't start having those conversations about conflict resolution, then who cares about race? It'll just keep happening, and we'll keep saying the same stupid-ass argument. Meanwhile, there's plenty of people out here who are actually fighting the good fight, and we're not supporting them at all. Who's supporting the fathers out there that are actually trying to do the right thing for their kids? And I'm saying, like, the ones who are going through some BS in the court system, nobody's helping them get a legal defense. Nobody's helping the small groups who are trying to deal with conflict resolution between the youth and prison reform, and nobody's trying to help them. They just want to help this kid because to some people it was good that he stabbed a white boy. White people need to stop messing with black people. This is a dumb narrative, guys, and we got to come up off of that shit. Somebody lost their life. We're not going to revel in it. I didn't know that kid. He didn't do anything personally to me. So if that's where you're coming from, that's on you. That's on you. Because we over here at Purge of the BS, and I'm talking about the folks, myself and our channel sponsor, we don't play that shit. We don't have nothing to do with race. Because I've been good at things and bad at things. And it didn't have to do with my race. It had to do with the fact that I was good at the shit. And that was it. There's your merit-based, non-discriminatory shit right there. So I'm not going to let nobody tell me this kid was suffering from some serious oppression unless there's some school records. Maybe he reported it to the school. These kids were bullying him. Then we have a conversation about the school and bullying. But it still doesn't have to do with race. Because the second you throw all this black into it, you mess up the colorization of what actually needs to come from this, which is we need to know how to better deal with each other when we disagree. That's the truth. That's what this is. And if you don't have that as a way of like understanding each other and growing through working through some of these things, then what are we expecting here? We're not giving the kid accountability by saying this was okay. I don't know what his parents are saying, but what I'm saying is no, it's not okay. I know you might have felt a certain type of way, but taking somebody's life was the wrong thing to do. Why can't we start with that and forget the whole race thing? Let's just deal with principle here. We don't want our kids killing each other, guys. We don't. Whether they're black, white, yellow, red, brown, or purple. We don't want our kids killing each other, guys. We want them to know how to resolve conflicts in much healthier ways. And if we start to support these kind of responses, then it's not teaching the kids any accountability. It's not teaching the kids anything that they need to actually survive here on this planet that we call Earth. Going forward, you must be accountable for your actions. If you take a life, whether you driving drunk and do so, or you knock something off the top, you throw something off of a high rise or a bridge, and it takes somebody's life, you should be held accountable. And it doesn't matter about your race. You're not going to get off just because you a certain race. A lot of people do not get off for that. And they definitely don't get off just because they're black. That's a new one. And apparently that's where this thing is turning. So I'm telling you right now, I'm over this shit. I'm over it. I'm over everything being black and white when at the end of the day, we all broke. Broke ain't a color, but you know what I'm saying. We would be broke and next to each other in the unemployment line. That can happen. We'd be broke and next to each other at the supermarket, making decisions on whether or not to buy eggs. Carmelo Anthony ain't coming to help none of y'all that kicked out $430,000. And what, are you going to be mad when he has to do some jail time? And you're going to blame it on him being black? It's disingenuous, folks. Somebody lost their life. There's going to be hell to pay. That's how it works. And it's not just because he was black. Now, granted, it would be a bigger story, just like that Jordan Neely thing, if the perpetrator was white versus black. But that's only because we always want to prove oppression. Stop trying to prove oppression. You're not going to prove it no more. Not when y'all niggas is making money. Not when y'all niggas is flossing money and all that on the internet and becoming internet stars and rap artists and all. You're not going to prove it no more. The argument sucks. Look at this lady right here. This is a judge. Nice looking judge. She's the judge that did the whole bond reduction. Are we going to just say she's a DEI hire and discount the fact that she worked her ass off to become a judge? That's what we be doing. So now it's because she was black, she had sympathy for the black kids and gave them a lower bond. But in order to say that, that would mean that we're also saying that white judges have sympathy for white people, which totally messes up the whole legal system if that's what we're doing. So I'm not going to be, not going to be a liar here. I do understand that, yes, some black people get harsher sentences than their white counterparts. We've seen that, and that is something that we do need to try to address. But it's not going to be addressed through this Carmelo Anthony case. So, I'm just saying, you guys can feel how you feel. Fortunately for me, this is my show, so I get to say how I feel. And, you know, put it out there. Because right now, this is all anybody's talking about is this racial piece. And I think that's a dumb thing to talk about because you heard the lawyer immediately get away from that. Because you can't prove a hate crime unless this kid was writing "kill white people" on his wall at home. You see what I'm saying? So just forget about it, as they would say. Because if you stay focused on something that doesn't really mean anything in the long run, it gets you distracted from what's actually going on. It gets you distracted from what's really happening that is actually affecting you. And I'm done with that. Y'all not going to tell me everything is black and white. It's not. Some things are just right and wrong, and that's all it is to it. That's all I'm saying. So, guys, I do have to get ready to get out of here, so let me give my last couple of shouts for everybody, and then I'm going to hang out with my wife for a little bit. And, cause see, she's nice enough to let me hang with y'all. So make sure it's worth her while. She's very nice about that. She does not mind me coming to talk to my internet folks. But, gotta make it worth it, you know what I'm saying? So, let me bring my cut back over. Have my Maury moment here. All right, so guys, I see y'all getting a little crazy in the chat, and that's fine. I always like to have and see good conversation, but I do want to give some shouts to all of the folks who are in there. You know, I know it's been Dewdrop a lot, but I don't see y'all. So Dewdrop, thank you very much for jumping in the chat today. Of course, Vader's daughter. Would that be Princess Leia? Princess Leia was Darth Vader's daughter? I mean, he was Luke's father, right? And that was his sister. Oh, shit. Anyway, Vader's daughter, 86, thanks for stopping in. Ghost 40, thanks for stopping in. Of course, my super mod, Al Bond, thank you for being here, man. I'm going to see you next week. I'm going to holler at you. I'm going to be in town next week, so I'm going to holler at you. Who else we got in here? Oh, Donald J. Plump, you came back. Donald J. Plump, always my favorite troll. He's been very good acting since that time I had to give him the Robin Harris treatment and hit him with that gotta go. And he was out of here. But you know what? I appreciate you coming back through, man. It wasn't nothing personal. It was just getting crazy that day. And let's see, anybody else I missed? No, but if I did, don't take it personal. Sometimes the chat be going fast and I miss it, okay? So I agree, Vader's daughter, 86. If you have information that you want to present, you should always research it so that you can present the receipts to anybody who has a difference of opinion. I think it's awesome that y'all stayed in here with me today. I will be back on Saturday, most likely. If not, we'll be back on Sunday for our annual or weekly purge with Brix and Bravo. So, guys, y'all been great. Don't go out the house like you just came out the Wish a Nigga Woods today, okay? Go smile at somebody that you might not normally smile at. Say hello to somebody you might not normally say hello to. And say goodbye to somebody that needs to get the hell out your life. You feel me? But other than that, guys, it's been awesome. And if you're not ready for this next level, well, that, my friends, is the bullshit.